Well, hello, good evening, and welcome to the program. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I'm Abdullahi Ahmed. Tonight, we turn to the growing calls from leaders of ethnic groups across the 19 northern states demanding urgent action from President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. They want a total overhaul of the nation's security architecture, a reshuffle of his cabinet, and a stronger push to consolidate ongoing reforms. The leaders, led by Dr. Dominic Alancha, say insecurity in the region has reached an unbearable level, from Boko Haram attacks in the northeast to banditry in the northwest and north central, alongside food shortages and millions of out-of-school children. They argue that the current service chiefs have failed to deliver despite huge resources spent, and are now calling for their dismissal and a declaration of a state of emergency across the north. So, what exactly do they want from the president, and how do they expect him to act? Well, joining me tonight to expand on this development is the convener of the forum, Dr. Dominic Alancha, to provide some context on this and many other issues developing in the polity. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Good to see you this evening.
Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Right. Why now? That's the big question that most people are asking. Some of the points that you've raised have been the main issues inundating the governance process for the last decade. Why now?
Well, why now is because in governance, you have to give them the chance to execute or implement the strategy they are coming on board with. And this is 2 years running. The very reasons that voted APC into power in 2015 still persist. And looking at the renewed hope agenda in terms of, the president plan and solution to the security challenges facing the country, we felt that by now we should be singing Kumbaya, because the situation must have, been arrested. But unfortunately, the situation, like we said in our press release, it has assumed a catastrophic dimension where, properties, lives are no longer sacrosanct. Everybody in the northern part of this country, and not only the north, in Nigeria generally, sleeps with one eye closed. And the primary business or responsibility of every government is to provide security for its citizens. And you see, the president, we must commend him, which we did, for the courage in taking certain decisions, in introducing certain policies, reforms, and stuff like that. But you see, the president is not alone in this, because it's like a car. He is the driver. There are other passengers in the car that help him drive governance. The service chiefs are part of this, passengers in the cars that play one role or the other to ensure that a typical example is a sailor, is a captain of the ship. If you get to a ship, there are different segments of people performing different functions that make the ship to sail successfully to its destination. The service chiefs have demonstrated that they lack the capacity, the competence to execute or to even conceive strategies that will mitigate banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, and most recently, armed robbery.
How did you arrive at that verdict?
Well, arriving at that verdict is nothing scientific. It's commonsensical, because I give you an example. I'll cite different examples to you across the northern region. Just recently, or before Zamfara, let me start with the North Central. In Benue State, my home state, over 200 persons were massacred. Cold blood. That alone is enough for the president to relieve the service chiefs. 200 people. Recently, or not too recent anyway, America flew into our airspace to rescue one of their citizens that was kidnapped in Sokoto State. You are aware of that. But in our case, 200 people were murdered in cold blood. Nobody took responsibility. Nobody was fired. Recently in Katsina State, worshippers were in the mosques performing their act of worship. Armed bandits came and killed them. In the northeast also, you had the governor of Borno complaining of what is happening. Look at just few nights ago, 2 days or thereabouts, what happened in Kwara State. I mean, not only Kwara, in Edo State, what happened? The insecurity is assuming a new dimension on a daily basis. And the service chiefs who are responsible for providing security, for securing the lives and properties of Nigerians, seems to fold their hands and do nothing. Rather, what they kept doing, what they are telling Nigerians is to find means to defend themselves. But this is unacceptable. That is why some would say, I'm trying to answer the question, why now? And that is why we felt this is the right time for the president to relieve his service chiefs. Some of us are members of the All Progressive Congress, and we want the president to succeed. With the crops of people in his cabinet, with the crops of service chiefs he has right now, I do not think they have the capacity to make the president succeed even in the upcoming election. Right. You clearly do not have confidence in the capacity of the service chiefs to deliver on this mandate, but it appears that the president still does. Is there, I mean, you did talk about how there is no scientific or empirical, reasoning to your decision. So I'm going to assume that it's a political one, that, you do not. No, I told you that this is not scientific. This is commonsensical. Yeah, because take for example, hold on. So the question I was getting to. Let me take you there. The question I was getting to, because this is very important. No, yeah, the question I was getting to is this: are there members within the forum who are experts in security, who help guide this press release that you put out there, calling on the president to not only relieve this service chief, but also call for a state of emergency? Why are you just doubling down on what every other person else is saying? No, we are not just doubling down. Like we stated very clearly, we have an extensive consultation, within the ethnic minority groups, leaders within the northern region, before we arrived at our conclusion in calling on the president to relieve them. Another issue that really elicits our decision is the fact that, you see, and let me make this very clear, that nobody should politicize security. Because security is not something that anybody should come and politicize it. It may be you on the other side, it may be me on the other side tomorrow. Nobody knows. And that is why we cannot allow anybody to politicize security. Now, the service chiefs, if you look at 2024 budgetary provision, because they have all the resources available within their disposal to fighting insecurity in Nigeria. In 2024, budgetary provision for defense was 3.25 trillion naira, amounting to about 12.5% of the total budget. In 2025, this year's budget is 4.95, almost 5 trillion naira. Now, we expect that with these resources available and within their disposal, to be able to use it in fighting banditry, in fighting Boko Haram, in fighting terrorism, and other security challenges that the nation is being faced. We do not see them acquiring the necessary technological, devices in fighting this terrorism.
Meanwhile, how would you know that? You're not privy to operational or strategic information. So how would you know what they are doing or what they are not doing?
Well, you see, like I told you, this is commonsensical. Because if they are, we should, you see, the layman on the street sense of security is that his life is protected. His people in the hinterland, in the village, are protected. As I speak with you, in the northern region, our livelihood, which is farming, has been taken away from us by these armed bandit men, by terrorists in the bush, by kidnappers. Our people can no longer go to the farm safely. In fact, I think it is in Zamfara or thereabout that farmers, or Katsina, that farmers has to negotiate with terrorists to be allowed to go to their farm. We are having food shortage as a result of this insecurity that have persisted. Farmers can no longer go to farm. Let the president relieve them of their duties and bring people with the competence, the capacity, and the wherewithal to be able to address these security challenges. There cannot be development. There cannot be meaningful governance if security is not tackled. It should be the #1 priority for Mr. President.
What does this particular situation then say about the president, since he obviously does not share your viewpoint about the performance of the service chiefs?
What I will tell the president is to listen to Nigerians. Are Nigerians secure today? If Nigerians are not secured in any part of this country, then the president should know that the service chiefs are not doing the needful. It's not about his personal opinion. It should be an aggregate of opinion from Nigerians. What is the security situation today in the country? Can we say, with all honesty, that we are better off in terms of security as a nation? Can you drive from here to Zamfara at night without any fear? As I speak with you, as a result of, will I call it the economic situation, armed robbery is returning. And this time around, when they are coming to an area, they come in drones, in their 50s and in their 100s, entering every houses and robbing. And the security agency seems to be helpless.
All right. Mr. Dominic, would you say that your analysis, a lot of people listening to you right now would obviously nod in agreement, appreciating your frustration and your sentiment towards the need for better security for Nigerians, and there's no argument there. But also, are you factoring in all the other positives that have been recorded? Because the government has been churning out numbers and numbers. Just recently in the North Central, for instance, the Nigerian military in several of its operations has recorded significant developments against bandits and non-state actors terrorizing different parts of the country. The same thing also in Katsina and parts of Sokoto. Are you acknowledging some of the gains that have been made while re-echoing the need for them to do better?
Any Nigerian that is not satisfied or that is not convinced with what we are saying, it therefore means that he is very, very secured. He is sure in his heart of heart that he is secured. But if he is not secured, then what I'm saying will resonate with him. You see, like I said, it's not something that we want to use words to convince anybody in order for the president to take his decisions. What we are saying is a practical thing. Nigeria today, especially the northern region, is not secured, and you know it. I don't know which state you come from, but every state in the north have challenges of insecurity. We don't want to say that the northern part has been abandoned. Some people out there have held that opinion that it is abandoned, it is intentional. Some are even attributing it to 2027 in order to, deter people from coming out to vote. But that's not what we are saying. I disagree with them. All I am saying is that if we have the right kind of people manning our various national security institutions, I believe they will do better.
I'm sure you're aware that
this administration, in terms of security, must have put in their best, but the truth is that their best is not enough.
I'm sure you're aware.
We want them to do more.
I'm sure you're aware that the buck stops at the table of the commander-in-chief, who is the president. Of course,
the president is the commander-in-chief.
Why is your frustration and anger and disappointment and all of that not pointed directly at the president, who, by the way, delegates those powers to the service chiefs to execute?
You just said it. He delegates. Once power is delegated to you, it is within your power to use it.
Yeah, but we know who the commander-in-chief is.
Okay, yes, he's the commander-in-chief, but he has delegated.
Right,
and the best way of governance is delegating duties.
And
that is what the Constitution have outlined.
Since the president has confidence,
because their position is a constitutional position.
I'm saying, since the president obviously still has confidence in the service chiefs, I suppose the buck then stop at his table in spite of the delegation.
And that does not mean that when people are not doing well. For example, we are also calling for the reshufflement of his cabinet. Most of his ministers, they lack the competence and the capacity, the political strength even, to drive governance, to, help him, even in winning 2027 election. Why? And let me tell you, you see, if the president is satisfied, it therefore means that they are working fine. And it will resonate with other Nigerians. And it's not a bad idea if your service chiefs or your ministers are not doing well, you sack them. Not too long ago, he relieved some ministers of their duties because he felt that, and of course, Nigerians complain about most of them. He relieved them of their duty. I agree with you that the buck stops on his table. And that is why, what is happening today needs a decisive decision, a proactive decision in nipping this on board. And the ball ends on his table, the buck ends on his table to take that decision in order for him to write his name in gold.
You say some of you are supporters of the APC, you've supported the president, and you still want him to do well. Do you trust his decisions?
Well, I trust his decision, but where, in the immediate, I will always trust his decision. But in the long run, if his decision is not going down well with Nigerians, we will come out and tell him so that he can adjust. Nobody is perfect. I'm not seeing the president as a perfect human being. We all have our lapses. Perhaps this could be one of his lapses. But the most important thing is that there is an opportunity for him to correct that. When you have a team and your team are not doing well, you need to look in and identify the cost and the reasons behind their failures. If they are irredeemable, the best thing is to relieve them.
All right. It does appear on the call for, you clearly have no confidence in the service chiefs. You want all of them gone, replaced by...
Nigerians do not have confidence in them, not about me.
I'm talking about you
nationalities.
as a group.
We do not have confidence in them.
Okay.
And that is why we are calling for the president maybe I'm using the word sack. Okay? It may not go down well with some Nigerians because I'm using the word sack. But let him relieve them.
Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the semantic.
You talk about...
Perhaps some people have issue when I say sack. They look at it as a more derogatory word.
I think...
So let's use the word relieve.
It's all the same thing, right? But you also talk about the cabinet. Talk to me about that. It seems like a blanket statement. You say some or most of the ministers are underperforming.
Look, the president
who exactly do you have issues with and why?
Well, I wouldn't want to start mentioning names, but you know very well that the president cabinet need to be rejigged. There is need
I don't have an
to
opinion
do away.
about
There is need. Yeah, you may not have opinion, but I'm telling you the opinion of Nigerians and the opinion of northern ethnic nationalities. Most of this, most of the president, most of the
vague claim.
No, it's not a vague claim. Most of the president's, ministers, they lack the capacity, they lack the competence to help the president in driving his renewed hope agenda with the hope of taking Nigeria to El Dorado.
Yeah, so again, back to the question I asked earlier. Why shouldn't people take your message as political, as sponsored, if you're not very methodical, empirical with your argument? Because if the president is listening to you now and you're saying most of the ministers, how is he going to take your message serious without knowing who you're talking about or why you think the minister of ABC ministry is underperforming if you don't have the facts?
Look, let me tell you. You see, you want to force word out of my mouth, and I wouldn't really want to go that way. Okay,
I'm trying to get clarity.
I wouldn't want to go that way. The two ministers of defense are not satisfied with what they are doing. Minister of Agriculture, I'm not satisfied. Minister of Power, look at what is happening in the power sector. That man seems to be very invisible. Minister of... Do you want me to go on and on? If I go on and on, I may mention all the ministers. Just recently, we saw contractors at the gate of Ministry of Finance demonstrating. 2024 budget is running till December. I don't know if it's running concurrently with 2025, but there are complaints here and there that the 2025 budget is not being implemented. Meanwhile, the president is telling Nigerians that we have achieved the budgetary revenue generation by August. And you begin to wonder, if we have achieved the revenue generation by August, which is almost 20-point-something trillion, why is it that the 2025 budget is not being run? But you see, like you asked me earlier, if I trust the president, I trust the president's decision, I trust the president's competence and capacity, but it goes beyond that. He needs people to help him drive his renewed hope agenda. And the current cabinet, they lack the competence and the capacity. How many of them are you seeing out there that you can say that they stand out in terms of their performance as ministers? Most of them, like I said, they lack the competence. And you see, beyond that, politically, if we want to also look at it, most of his ministers do not have the capacity to deliver him, in 2027. They don't have the political clout. They don't have they are not in touch with their grassroots, because politics is about grassroots.
Is this about 2027?
Well, definitely anything you are doing now, because 2027 Nigerians will look at your scorecard and judge you whether to vote you back and renew the mandate or not.
Okay. Last question. Let's talk about the call for national emergency, especially regarding the North. That word has been used rather loosely of late. The Northern Elders Forum recently came out and used that same expression, even though they later clarified to say national emergency on security and not necessarily deploying it in the constitutional sense. What do you exactly mean when you say you're calling for a national security emergency in northern Nigeria? Now,
when the president declared national security emergency in northern Nigeria, this means that there will be a institutional, collaboration, in dealing with the situations of security in the northern Nigeria. there will be a multidimensional approach towards it. Okay? You know, the police, the military, all of them, there will be a kind of operational room, so to say, where resources will be deployed, where ideas will be generated, where, you know, the issues will be dealt with without any political interference. You had the governor of Zamfara, and you see this against exposes the inadequacies of the military, you know, the service chiefs, because he said in his, you know, address to those that visited him, which was trending, that if he has the power, in 2 months he's going to stop banditry and all the insecurity, terrorism, kidnapping that is going on in the Northwest. Did you believe that
statement could be true?
Well, I'm not speaking, he's speaking from a hindsight.
Right, so the experts would say, listen, there is no easy way out of the current challenge with security in Nigeria. There's always going to have to be a long-term solution. There is no simple way out of this. Do you fear that either out of your inability to understand the scale of the problem from an operational point of view, that you're oversimplifying what it would actually take to nip this situation in the bud?
2 years is enough time for us to, you know, begin to see certain, you know, indices on ground that speaks to the success of the service chiefs, the security agencies in terms of their fight against corruption. 2 years. In fact, 2 years plus. That is where we are today.
The fight against Boko Haram goes back to 2009.
Absolutely. But, you know, we are looking at a brand new administration that just comes on board. We are looking at it from 2023 till date.
Right.
Okay? In 2023 general electioneering campaign, security was part of the campaign promises that we gave to Nigerians.
So the grace period for you is over?
Well, for me, the grace period is elapsing. And that is why the president...
For the president or for the service chiefs?
For the president.
Right.
For the president, because the buck ends on his table. And tomorrow when I'm out there campaigning, I'm going to be telling Nigerians his achievement in terms of security. Right. Let him provide me with the necessary tools to use in driving or, you know, in driving his campaign, in telling Nigerians, you know, what he did, you know, as a president within the first tenure of the mandate that was given to him, you know, in nipping security on board. Okay. If it's not there, how will I tell Nigerians to vote for him in 2015?
Interesting conversation. Dr. Dominic Alancha, thank you so much for joining me on the program tonight. I appreciate you very much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. Yeah. Right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, we'll double down on this and many other developing issues in the polity. Daily Politics returns after this. Join us again.